I'm Jeff Kavanaugh, Global Head of the Infosys Knowledge Institute, and we're here at Infosys Foundation USA CrossRoads 2025, where leaders across education, technology, and social impact have come together to share and shape the future of learning. I'm joined by Karim Meghji, Chief Product Officer at Code.org. Karim has led product and technology teams across a range of innovative industries, from online media and fintech, and he's been at the forefront of digital transformation for decades. At Code.org, he leads that expertise and brings it to advancing equitable access to computer science education. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
What inspired you to join Code.org and focus on expanding access to computer science education?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. When I was a young person in high school myself, I was lucky enough to have a math teacher who decided to show us about how computers work to solve math problems. And honestly, I was kind of a lazy math student. Didn't love doing the longhand calculus work. And so the idea of using computers to solve those problems was really inspiring to me. And once I saw how it worked and wrote my first program to solve a math problem, I was hooked. And I thought, students shouldn't be lucky like I was. They should have it as part of their education, and every student should have access to learning about computer science and now AI.
It just shows you the importance about teachers and mentors, and you're changing serendipity to more something as structured.
Absolutely.
What trends in computer science education, especially with Teach.AI and the White House's AI executive order, which I'm excited about, do you think will have the biggest impact?
Yeah. I think it's interesting when you're in the moment of such an amazing transformation that we're about to go through with AI. It doesn't feel like it necessarily in the moment. And so I do think there are a number of things that will impact how education looks in the future. I talked about one of those transformations this morning, and that is how AI tutoring will find its way into the classroom and personalize for students, how it will bring a more equitable outcome for students that might not have all the tools that they might need to learn some of the things that we want them to learn to be, digitally skilled for the future. So that's one trend I think that we'll see. I think teachers will have an unlock with AI as we bring AI into education. The way that we can use AI today just for efficiency gains is a great start. Let's take the things off their plate that are more rote, and let's actually leverage what they do.
That is huge. Coming from family teachers, how much of the time is spent just doing those things you have to do that don't really impact the quality of the teaching.
That's right.
But they're administratively required.
Yeah, teacher wants to connect with students, learn that child's specific needs, focus on going deep with each of those children. And so I think creating space for that is another area that I see some really interesting opportunity.
Well, when you get the stat right, over 2 million students reached through our partnership over 10 years. How have collaborations like this shaped your programs and priorities?
Yeah, we couldn't do any of the work we do without partnerships like the one we have with the Infosys Foundation. It's transformative. It enables us, frees us in many ways to think big. That's one of the things that I love about partnerships like this one. The foundation has given us the space to think in ways that are audacious, that aren't constrained. And so that's probably the biggest benefit and biggest, I think, impact and outcome. We can think about things like rural kids in parts of the world where they don't have connectivity, where they don't have devices that function as well as we might have in some other parts of the world. These sorts of challenges, really hard challenges, are the challenges that, when you have constraints, you don't think about those first, but when you're allowed to be unconstrained in your thinking, you can kind of visualize that in a more engaged way.
What's exciting too with these low Earth orbit satellite-based internet connections. So hopefully soon, anywhere in the world, if somebody wants to learn, they can have access to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course, languages too, the ability to translate into more and more language with less effort. That's got to be huge as well.
It's huge for us. Yeah, translation is important, and AI helps with that. That's another really interesting connection point where we can reach those students across those language barriers using AI. And AI can do an amazing job today of translating. So when you connect these dots, the technology unconstraining barriers, to your point, internet connectivity and speaking to students in their local context, it really unlocks a lot of potential.
All right, that's the cool side. There's that possible dark side as well. How is Code.org helping educators integrate AI safely and responsibly through Teach.AI and programs like that?
Yeah. So we do a couple of things. Our Teach.AI program is really built around bringing together thought leaders
Hmm.
who have a balanced approach. They think about the opportunities and the risks, and then forming policy that guides a lot of folks that are in the space of teaching and learning and using AI tools now increasingly in those contexts. So that's how we do it through Teach.AI. Through Code.org, we build products and
Hmm.
curriculum. And what we do to ensure that the products we build are safe, responsible, is we put them in the classrooms and test them. We test them with students.
And you evolve them and iterate.
We iterate and we iterate and we iterate, and we don't scale these things up.
Because you do want to be safe, but don't also create barriers
Right.
or more in administration.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's being um, having that vision, feeling unconstrained, but also grounded. I think that combination of things is how we try and approach the work we do.
Got it. Well, as being part of the Knowledge Institute, thought leadership part of Infosys, how do you think about thought leadership through facts, research, stories, data to get your message out and to build trust and support for what you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of that goes back to the point about community.
Mhm.
Thought leadership is not done in a vacuum. It's coming together. It's having constructive dialogue. It's debating. It's agreeing and disagreeing. I think that's how we as a community provide thought leadership more broadly speaking. And so we ground our work in that. We don't come in with we have the answer. We come in with curiosity and some
You've got a
thoughts,
position and you evolve.
and we
Yeah.
evolve it. And so we shape that together. And then through channels like Teach.AI with policy work, through Code.org with product work, we try and land tangible outcomes, whether that's a paper on how to bring AI into schools, to curriculum for high schoolers, teaching them about foundational AI concepts.
And measuring outcomes, I'm sure,
Absolutely.
as your folks go through that.
That's right.
Um, How do you gather and apply this, speaking of that, apply this feedback from teachers and students to improve your offering? Since you're Chief Product Officer, so what does that mean to incorporate it back into your product?
Yeah. The product is never done. That's one of the things that I think about as a chief product officer. You can always make it better. And it goes back to the earlier thing we talked about, Jeff, which is iteration. When you're at stages like right now where AI is transforming so many things, um, uh, it's not about a constant outcome. It's about finding the next place that you can go to make the product better. And so again, it's hours in the classroom, hours with teachers, iterating, iterating,
Hmm.
iterating, and really learning what those outcomes look like, measuring them to your point, and then building on that.
Well, looking ahead for the next 5 years, let's say, what are your top priorities and how do you plan to get there?
So starting kind of at the top, it's really framing what does AI literacy and AI, foundational AI knowledge need to look like for that student who will be a part of this digital future that we see in 10 years, 20 years. We're really thinking hard about durable skills. What does that mean in a world with AI? We're really thinking about what does computer science look like in the future? Something that's on a lot of people's minds. So it begins with just thinking and understanding the concepts that we need to teach students. We do see a role for AI software in our products. And so thinking about an equitable, accessible AI tutor that can really help with some of the things we've already touched on. On the student side, thinking about what are the teacher supports that AI can provide through what we call the AI teaching assistant, which is probably not surprising. And then how do we manifest some of the earlier points I touched on in AI curriculum that provides that student that piece of knowledge that ultimately, when they get into the workforce and they're in an AI native environment, they can work with those systems and those tools in a responsible, ethical, productive way, not just an efficient way.
Great. Well, I want to get back to the main foundation events, so I appreciate you joining. Um, Thank you so much for all your contribution, your time today, and as we like to say at the Knowledge Institute, keep learning and keep sharing.